Hey, welcome back. Part 2. We just did one talking about resources. Now we're talking about longevity because right now, usually I'm the old guy in the room, but I am the young guy by far in this room.
By far.
But
you definitely look like the young guy in the room for the record.
I'm trying.
We got old and older over here.
I was a very late bloomer, but knowing that you flew in here at like midnight last night.
I know.
And it's like, you're a dog, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
I'm working hard is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm up early, teaching a workshop, 2 podcasts, 1 more workshop,
Let's
a lunch
go.
in there. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
And then flying back home.
Flying back home. I
Yeah,
got it.
and then church this weekend.
Yep, 5 services.
There
So
we go.
2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. We go hard at Mariners where I serve.
That's
Yikes.
crazy. But hey, so welcome. We got Eric with the K. We got Josh. Just in case this is our first episode turning in, just give us a quick brief. Who are you guys? Where are you serving? What you doing?
I serve down in Southern California near Palm Springs area, Coachella Valley, and I've been in youth ministry 32 years, youth ministry coach, and love to go and speak and do stuff, and got 4 kids. 2 kids on staff here at Bayside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's big.
And
Wow.
1 youth pastor, Karston, and who's
My
usually
normal-
on
my
this.
normal co-host.
Who's
Yeah.
usually on this
Karston
podcast.
not with us this week.
Not with us.
Yeah.
He is alive.
Yeah.
He is alive.
He's
And
not
then
dead,
He's just
no?
he's not with us physically
Yes,
here.
God rest his
Yeah.
soul. And then
was a
Kinsey,
good
my
run,
daughter,
Karston.
who's the youth ministry worship director at the Blue Oaks campus. Which is fun.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know you have deep connections to
Yeah.
Bayside.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
And I'm Josh, been in youth ministry for 30 years. I am a junior high pastor down
you
in
go.
Southern California, in Irvine, California. So there you go. Home of Blizzard Entertainment. They make a lot of video games. So a couple guys from our church
Sheesh.
they worked on Diablo, which is
Yeah.
not a Christian game.
Not a Christian
But
game,
I know,
but it's very good and well-selling game.
well
Yeah,
selling.
They've
I'm like,
put
you guys,
the Mariner code
I know,
into the
like,
coding.
You guys made a game about hell, and
Yeah.
you're Christian. I don't know. I
Occasionally
don't
you
play
see
it.
a cross in the background.
I don't play it. I'm just saying it right now.
Yeah.
We've been in youth ministry a long time. Between us, that's 62. I'm 30 or
Yeah.
32, 62 years
62
in
years.
youth ministry.
Yeah.
How long have you been in?
17. So
That's
17 on
good.
paid staff. Yeah. I think like it's funny because outside of this right here, I'm normally like when people are like, oh, 17. Wow.
That is a
Yeah.
long time.
You've lasted a long time.
And
most
youth
of
ministry
it-
years are like dog years.
They
so
are.
17
Yeah.
times 7,
Yeah,
come on.
and it's mostly middle school ministry. That's been my main focus too,
Let's
is because
go.
middle school. I've done high school and college. I think middle school it's just like there's something about the vulnerability, the moldability, just where they're at, figuring out who they are. Middle school and young adults, I think, are just the
And we
prime
might
ages.
identify a little bit more with that age
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Growing-
as
growing
we get
olds are
older.
level. I had
Yeah.
12. I had 12 of my 32 was middle school ministry.
There
Absolutely,
you go.
yeah. So
Oh, I've been all high school the whole time until the last 7. So now
Oh.
I'm new to junior high ministry, but I love it, and
Yeah.
it's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is 100%.
Yeah.
It's a little easier too. I'm not going to lie to you. High
Yeah.
school ministry is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
it's a different. It's just different where you're like middle school. It's like there is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But the support isn't there as much. Where
Yep.
high school,
Yep.
it's like all the support in the world, but you're really wrestling in mud. You know what I mean? It's really like really sticky. There's touchy subjects.
Yep.
There's
100%.
a lot of entitlement. There's kids that don't. You know what I mean? That have real traumatic stuff.
Yep.
Middle school, it's like you're once you get a leader, if a leader comes to me and is like, hey, I want to serve middle school, I'm like, you really love Jesus.
Yeah, like
You know?
you're close to the Lord. That's it.
If you want to serve in high school, it's like, hey, you weren't cool in high school, and now you're trying to like relive the glory days.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
You're hoping to get some now. Yeah,
Absolutely,
but junior
yeah.
high, it's a wild,
Or
wild west.
i-
that's
if
for
you're
sure.
in a church like the church that I'm coming alongside with right now, we've got 13 to 25 students. So there is no split.
So it's junior high and high
So
school.
you're
just
speaking
together.
to all of
All of
them
them, yeah.
in one place and trying to make sure that you've got your seniors engaged and the 6th graders not throwing stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so it's
Yep.
and making sure that you don't do something dumb enough that the seniors are like, I'm not coming back.
Exactly.
And then you're like, all right, 8th grade girls, stay away from the senior guys. It's like it's a whole new.
Well, you think about it too, right? If you do something to reach a junior higher, the high schooler is going to be like, oh, this is so junior high.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If you reach too high up, then the junior higher is like bored and, you know, out of their mind. So it is, there's a little dance right there.
Yeah,
that's a quick way. You can lose either one, right?
Yep.
Because 6th grade parents aren't excited.
No.
And a 12th grade student is not excited.
Yeah.
So you got to
So
work
you kind of
hard.
aim at the 9th grader and hope that it spills over both
hope
ways.
for the best.
Yeah. Really get the upper class serving and
Totally.
Yeah. So, but that's not what our topic is today.
No, we're just riffing right now. Yeah.
Well,
that was
there's-
just free. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what we got is longevity, and that's what we're talking about is longevity. The main things I want to focus off is how to last. Okay, how did you guys last, and then last, how to stay full. And I think all of these things are really, if you can take these, implement these. If you're one of those guys or gals that are trying to step up and just move to the senior pastor, okay, then just step up and move to the senior pastor. But if you're someone who wants to leave a kingdom impact in youth ministry, my hope and my prayer is that this episode is beneficial for you.
Absolutely.
So first off, what are some how to last? What are some tips, tricks, marriage, all that stuff, how to last?
Yeah. You start us off, Eric, with a K.
Well, you said marriage. I'd say that's, for me, has been like the key. Like making sure that I'm in great communication with my wife. So we know, we've been in it long enough, like ministry is seasonal. So she knows the couple of weeks before camp, I'm not going to get home at 5 o'clock like I always do or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be some late nights, especially when we're running the camp. It's going to be some late nights. I'm pushing hard. I'm trying to get all the last minute stuff. And she also knows that after camp is over, I get to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And we have, so it's not like that. And I pull back a bit. I take some comp time and I, whatever. So, so making sure I'm always communicating with my wife, and then also letting my kids know what's going on. And even like if I'm going to speak somewhere, like I don't do that and just go and speak. It's always through the Jeananne filter.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's like, yeah, no, we have, because I forget stuff.
Yes.
Oh, there's a soccer tournament that weekend? Is it on? Oh, it is on my phone. I
Yeah.
should look at my calendar before I say yes to something.
Absolutely.
So making sure that she and I are on the same page has been, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it if we weren't good at communicating.
Absolutely.
I like that. That's good. Yeah, I would say syncing calendars is really big for us too. I would say light at the end of the tunnel is good. I do think seasons, I'm not sure seasons exist in youth ministry. I think it's just
sprint.
It's on and it's more on.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I don't think like seasons, I'm always like, oh, I think that might be a lie. Not for you, but I'm just saying in my world. So I would say light at the end of the tunnel is, hey, I'm pushing through this big project, or I've got to get through camp, and then we'll have that time together. But beyond that, I would say having a hobby that is life-giving and refreshing to you, having friends, either, I mean, in the youth ministry is fine, nothing wrong with that. I find a lot of community with my team, with my volunteer, all of it. But I would say friends outside, so you're not always talking shop.
Yeah.
And, what is something that you do for fun that fills you up? And for me right now, just showing my age, I love pickleball with my whole heart.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
great.
I am not afraid at 4 o'clock to be done for the day. And I will hit the courts with the guys.
Yeah.
And we're talking, we're laughing. They have nothing to do with youth ministry. They barely care what I do.
Yeah.
And we're just playing the game.
Yeah.
And that is so refreshing and so fulfilling that I just think it's essential. Like
Absolutely.
oftentimes the church will take everything that you will give it.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's for the church. It's for the Lord. I got to give it all.
Yeah.
And so when you do, you burn out and you leave. And
Absolutely.
we've definitely seen enough people in our 62
Yeah.
years combined and
Yeah.
plus, we've seen a lot of people come and go.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I would say push into your hobbies, your community, and then make your marriage and family a priority.
100%. And I think a lot of people burn out or leave youth ministry is because unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely.
So I mean, there's so much I want to say on that, but just like even like when I first started youth ministry, I wasn't married. I started as an intern in high school, and then I got kicked out of the church, and I came back in the church, and then I was like the intern again, and then I went to college to study youth ministry, and then I was serving and got hired. All of that single, and then I got married a month after college because I wanted to have sex, and so we're married.
That's a whole different podcast.
Whole different podcast, and then that action leads to children, and so it was like this abrupt change where it's like I had been doing youth ministry paid for about 6 years, And then single and married. And married when it's just the two of you is very different than married with kids.
Agreed.
And then
even married with one kid is still not that great. And then two is like, it's changing everything.
Whole new game.
Yeah.
Two, we were in marriage counseling. So I would say one tip, get a marital counselor, get a counselor. Be open to going to counseling and getting help. Like I always say this, Kathy Fields saved our marriage. She doesn't even know this. And I've only talked to Kathy very shortly. I talked to Doug quite a bit, but I went to a youth specialties conference and she just roasted me. I felt like my wife and her must have been talking.
Yeah, you're like, have you been to my church? How did you know?
When you say be home on time, be home on time. And do all these, like, she just went down this list of like, and so like you're saying, if you're a female, you and your spouse need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Because being a youth pastor spouse, it sucks. You know what I mean? And so make sure that you're on the same page. What they put in the calendar goes.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, I didn't realize I have this. If my wife puts something in the calendar and I plan something, I'm calling my boss and being like, bro, I'm sorry. Like, I'm going with the spouse.
Yeah,
you know
I have
what I mean?
to do that. There's no, I cannot. Yeah.
I'm not missing it. And like you said, I don't think there is seasons, but there's ebbs and flows to it because it is just a sprint. But like, there's different seasons, marriage and kids. Like I'm coming into the promised land where I have kids in middle school ministry.
Yeah.
So it is.
Great.
It is like this burden has lifted. Where it's like before I felt horror. I have 5 kids. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I have 4. I'm there.
4.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there was a season where I'm leaving my wife with 5 kids, trying to murder her. It's like ants and the grasshoppers, and they've realized
she is outnumbered.
Yeah, she is way outnumbered. She's buff and she can handle her own. But right now I'm taking 2 of them with me, and so
that's special too.
So that's like, if you last long enough, it does get easier.
Yeah.
But understand there is going to be seasons where you have to pull back a little bit and change.
Well, the church's expectation of you when you're an intern or you're single guy or gal, whatever, and you're giving everything, you're staying late, you're 100%, you're 120%, and the church gets accustomed to that. So the church also has to loosen their grip and their ownership of you, and that is hard for churches to do too.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, you used to be here 60 hours a week and you didn't blink.
Yeah.
And you loved it.
Yeah.
And now, so I do think, and churches don't do that gracefully.
No.
And so as the season of life changes, there is a season in your church and your role and what you can and should give. And so, I love it. Great work.
I would, that's great. I would say if you are single and you're in ministry, set
Have
your
some
boundaries now.
Yes.
Right. When I was an intern, I remember Brent was my youth pastor, and he'd had me over for dinner. They had a little baby, and someone called on the phone. Now this is you can see who's calling or whatever.
Was it a landline?
It was a landline.
Should we explain to our listeners what a landline? Anyhow,
curled into the wall, and anyhow, he answered the phone, and it was a mom. Like, she's like, my daughter just got taken into the hospital. It was like a mental place, for some mental health stuff. And like, he's asking some leading questions or whatever, or some questions, and found like she's not in any imminent risk danger right now. And he said, listen, it sounds like she's in a good place.
Yeah.
I've been out 3 nights this week from my family. Yeah. I'm home with my family right now having dinner. So I'm going to not go out tonight, but I'm going to protect my family time. Tomorrow morning, first thing, I will be out and I'll go visit your daughter. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that was so good. I mean, I know I was there, but still, I was just like a friend coming over for dinner. And even in my first church, I came in on a day off one day, and Margie Terry, who was our church secretary, as we called them then, she's like, what are you doing? I go, I got a couple things. Is it your day off? I said, yeah. You get out.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
What a gift. It's not, I'm like, and I wasn't married yet. And I'm like, she goes, get out. You don't come in here on your day off. And I'm like, so Sabbath?
Usually it's the other way, right? Where they're like, hey, you should have come in on your day off and gotten that done.
Her husband was a pastor at another church. So she knew, if you're going to be a pastor, you need to take care of your Sabbath and your soul and your health. Yep. So like, Sabbath for me has always been a major deal. And most leadership will say it, but don't play it out.
Yeah, especially in the interview process where you're like, well, when I interviewed here, it really sounded like this was a good, healthy organization. Then when you get in it, you're like, oh,
didn't you say I get 2 full days off?
But I do think, having boundaries, having a set day off, being unavailable, because we're all so available. Like, someone can literally text you right now and you have to snap into action. That is a heavy burden to continually bear.
Absolutely.
There was a little season where we had started Download Youth Ministry, and I was between Saddleback and Mariners at that point. and I didn't have responsibilities,
Yeah.
like an ongoing weekly program, or I wasn't on. Youth workers are always on call.
Absolutely.
Like, a doctor and like a surgeon or an ER, you are on call for a little bit.
Yeah.
A youth worker, you are never not on call. So we just made an early commitment in these 30 years that we've been doing this, that Monday I am not on call. I am not available. My phone will be off. Like sometimes people are like, I couldn't get a hold of you. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
Went straight to voicemail.
And that's why 30 years later, we're still standing.
Absolutely.
Because you couldn't get me on Monday. And the only way that you can make it is to have some boundaries. And, and you can't have too many. I understand.
Yeah.
And you have too many and you're not going to be at that church very long.
You gotta be flexible. I always say you gotta have your
Totally.
5. If these 5 people call me, I'm answering.
Right.
But they respect me.
Yep.
Also too, it's like most churches, we always like to put the blame on the church of their
Exactly.
unhealth. No, the church, they're not the unhealthy one. Like, you're the unhealthy one, and the church is exposing your unhealth.
Yeah.
But if you're like,
hey, quit. That hurt. That hurt a little. How dare you?
Like, I got
word,
asked
man.
to apply at Bayside when I was first in ministry. If I would have applied at Bayside then, I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't be married now. I
Exactly.
Thank God for taking me like on church planning and doing these other things. And then I am here now where it's like, I have no problem telling them no.
Yep.
And I have no problem being like, if you can't respect these boundaries, then I have no problem finding another church. I know it's hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like, oh, but the kingdom of God and this and that. Yes, you should run hard. 6 days a week or whatever it is, 5 days a week, and then take those days off. But then also understand that ministry is going to trickle into every avenue of your life. Like I always do like the 4 blocks, and I wish I had an image of this. You have your family, your ministry, your hobbies, your friends. And then that ministry is going to take a little bit of each of those blocks.
Right.
And so like most of my friends, we serve in ministry. If you want more time with me, start serving in ministry. Okay. My family, I give nepotism to my children. You get pastor privilege.
Absolutely.
Okay? My kid, we're doing a conference right now. There's a Ferris wheel. My kids will be on that. My kids will get candy when they come to church. My kids will get.
Yeah, the fridge is open. Let's
absolutely.
go. Yeah.
Like I want them to want and like to be at church. You know what I mean? And then like there's going to be like vacations or things where I've brought interns with me. I've brought people with me where it's like, yes, it's still ministry, but it's just different. And I do agree though, you need to fight for your time, especially with your spouse. Okay. Like that is so key that you are fighting for that time with your spouse and with your kids. This quote haunts me. There was a guy, William Jessup. He took over for like Les Christie when he left, and he was there, and he said this at a luncheon where he goes, he has 3 kids, I think, and one of them told him, he goes, Dad, you were a great dad to other kids. And I was just like,
that cuts.
Oh my gosh,
hurts.
Like my heart broke for him. That like, and I never want that to be my children. I know I'm not perfect, but I will never like. I'm not going to miss my kid's game for another kid's game. You know what I mean? I'm never going to, and so having those boundaries, having this out, there's a lot of good research, a lot of good books on boundaries, and we could talk about this for days. But how did you guys last? Okay, what are the things you guys did that really helped you last?
Yeah. I'm still thinking about your 4 quadrants and how that one just bleeds into the other. I'm like, that's a great image of like the red just kind of leaking in and stealing. Oh, I love it. I'll give you a really practical one. In addition to like syncing calendars and sacred day off and friends and hobbies, I would say finding your voice and the appropriate voice of pushback and boundaries is very hard to do. That will take time, and finding that will be one of the more difficult challenges of your personal ministry. So I would say if you don't have that voice, that's okay. We all started without it. Finding that will be very, very hard, and it will take time. You'll get there. 2, I would say church, there's drama in the church, right? And I don't want to always bring my family into that because it will chip away at their love and perceptions and whatever. So I sit in front of my house for like 5 minutes. When I come home, I take 5 minutes to let go of whatever happened at the church, whatever drama, this family, or just the emotional weight, and literally exhale. And then I bring the best husband and dad I can through the front door. So it's a simple little thing. It's just a beat that reminds me to like, okay, now, because otherwise you're going to bring what's left of you in through the front door.
That's not good.
And little kids are like, Dad, and you're like, I got nothing left to give. And so I would say that moment for me is literally a whole shift of roles. And my wife who has been a stay-at-home mom a lot of my youth ministry career, is also really interested in the church and does want to talk shop and does want to hear what happened in the news of the day or whatever. So there's a place for that too.
Yeah.
But I would say a little beat where I completely change mindset so I can bring the best of me home.
Yeah.
Otherwise, man, I just bring in all the baggage and hurt and pain
And leftovers.
And I give them very, very little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. There was a season I was walking through a really difficult season at a church, and I heard somebody say this. I don't even remember where it was, so I can't attribute to anybody. So I'll say I came up with this idea.
Yeah, you did. You're brilliant.
So similar idea. I remember driving down Liberty Street in South Salem. I'd pull off where there's a Chinese restaurant out kind of in front of the Chinese restaurant was this dumpster that was kind of hidden. I would get out of the car, take my fake sack that was filled with all the junk from the day, and I'd toss it into that. I literally did that for about 3 weeks. And I would get back in my car and go, and then I go home and I'm like, I've left that in a trash can and I'm going to go give my family everything.
Yeah.
The other thing is
That was great, like dumpster fire season there, man.
My wife, she still says this sometimes. The opposite of she says, remember to treat your kids like you would a student and talk to them that way instead of getting a little too angst up and
too dad mode.
Yeah. Because they're coming with, I've got 2 14-year-olds at home, so they're coming with 14-year-old stuff. And my wife's like, just remember, how would you talk to one of the students at the church instead of talking to one of your children who you're going to get fired up with?
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. That's
because
good.
dad mode fully engaged.
Yeah.
And things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yet also I would say the opposite to a degree. Like your kids aren't a project for you to pastor.
Yeah.
They also need a dad too, right? So I do think there's a great balance in there.
Yeah.
But how do we do that? That's a dance. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think both that's gold. I would say too, like I'm gonna tell you an area I suck in. I'm horrible with it. And so Krista, if you're watching, I'm sorry to bring our baggage out there, but I do vent to my wife, and I would say you need to vent the positive as way more than you vent the negative. Like I've ruined church for my wife many times, and it sucks.
Absolutely.
I've made it hard for her to walk into church because we've had to deal with church politics. We've had to deal with church hurts. We've had to deal with, hey, I've been here 6 years and I haven't gotten this opportunity, that opportunity, and so like. You gotta find healthy outlets within that. So like having like my buddy Rocky still texts me all the time, hey, how can we pray? How can we do this? But we used to get coffee once a week when we lived in the same town. And I was like, here's my baggage. Your spouse isn't that person.
Yeah.
And so, because how you bring yourself home is so important.
So big.
And so you can't just come home and be like, my boss did X, Y, Z, because then she's going to go or he's going to go and sit in Sunday service and be like, that guy's a turd.
I can't listen to the message because of the way he led during the week.
Absolutely.
Right? But you have framed that. You have shaped
and
that.
You
for them.
did that. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like.
And the reality is too, you don't go home and go, oh, my supervisor was so awesome today, and we did this, so that your spouse hears like the good stuff of those things. They're just caring, and they fight for you.
Yeah.
I think for my wife with her boss, I'm like, I hear the stuff, and I'm like, I haven't even met her yet. She's new, and I'm like, I just want to, be unkind.
Yeah.
So the other thing I was going to say for me was back on the Sabbath and the rest piece is, and I'll say this as vaguely as possible, but I was at a church, and my pastor at this specific church asked another pastor from someone else's church who formerly used to run this church and isn't there anymore. That's very vague, right?
Yeah, I'm totally confused. I have no
you
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they asked this pastor who was at a very large church, how do you handle Sabbath? And he thought he was going to give this great, like, I'm very clear on Mondays or whatever. I use Sabbath moments. And it was like, oh, I didn't want to hear it. I don't think that's what my pastor wanted to hear. It's like, yeah, just trying to find like a 15-minute window here on a day where I can just go for a little walk or whatever. I'm like, ooh,
that's not a Sabbath. That's a
no,
break.
No.
That's a smoke break if you're in youth ministry.
Exactly.
Just
exactly.
kidding. Don't smoke, kids.
So at this church, I got a phone call one day from somebody on the facilities team, and I didn't answer. And then I got another phone call, and then some texts, and I could tell by the text messages it wasn't emergency level.
Yeah.
And so I never responded. So the next day I called. I'm like, hey, what's up? Well, I needed you yesterday. I'm like, yeah, but I was my day off.
Yeah.
I know, but I needed you. I'm like, did you figure it out? Yeah. yeah, it was my day off. I don't take.
I love it.
And so like that set a little culture, at least for me,
Yeah.
at our church, that people knew that I wasn't responding.
One of our tips that I would say is important, I would say too, is we calendar family first. I ask everybody on my team, get your time off in first, and then we'll layer the youth ministry stuff around it and on top. So if you're going to be at a wedding, great, go be at the wedding. That's awesome, of course.
Yeah.
But let's do that. Let's get that on the calendar as soon as we can, so that I'm not putting an event now that I have to run by myself and I have to sacrifice additionally. So.
Good.
And and stuff comes up too, even for Thrive to come up and speak at this conference. My wife's like, "You're gone? Weren't you just gone?" And I'm like, "Sorry, babe, my bad." So I'm not coming to you from the we do this perfectly,
No.
but
Absolutely.
but letting the family calendar land first is a huge win to keep your family a priority.
Yeah, and I would even say practically for yourself, do what feeds you and get rid of what doesn't in your role.
Exactly.
Like when we talked about in our resources one about you try to do everything, and that was me. And I was like, there's things that give me life, and there's things that suck the life out of me. I haven't written an email. Well, I'm dyslexic, so I'll get up, so I don't write anything. Barely even Facebook posts. I mean, MySpace. Who does Facebook? But but here's the thing: is I don't write, like, so I don't do that stuff. So if it like I've found people to take this. Like when I interviewed here, I was like, just so you guys know, like I'm not saying this as a like, you know, like, hey, what's your worst quality? And I'm like, I can't spell. I can't write. I'm dyslexic. I'm all these things. I'm good at graphics and this. I'm good at preaching. I don't do this. And so find that, like, hey, I need help in this area. I need help in that area. Good. Because if you're doing the things that kill you at work, like there's going to be things I have to do my PEX receipts and reports for turning in my credit card statements and finding receipts, and that kills me. But
that kills all of us, no matter who you are.
Everything else, you know, like we were talking about this where it's like baptisms. I will fight to be in that tub for my students because I love that life change, and it reminds me this is why I do it. I got the honor of baptizing my son like a year ago, and that was after 3 years of me being like, you're not ready, you're not doing it. And it was like, he had to give me a presentation. And it was like, it fed my soul where I'm like, this is great. Yeah. And so find the things that feed your soul. That's and good. Then last but not least, okay, is how to stay full. Like how to stay full. Like what retreats, things have you guys done that we could glean to them and say, hey, this is what you should be doing.
Yep. I mean, we're at one right now. We're at Thrive while it's happening, and that is a life-giving thing to me. Like, I think going to a conference, an event, a retreat is so good. I would say, as a presenter, which this is going to sound a little crazy, I don't think the presentations and the workshops and the breakouts are actually the most valuable thing. No. It is the relationships. It is the lunches. Yes. It is the interstitial connective tissue that's magical.
Wow, look at you with
I know,
big
that's
words.
a big word. For a junior high pastor, I'm dropping one right there.
Amazing.
That's good. But I would say, like, I teach this stuff now. But I would say, I'll pick up something, a tip here. I'm in. But the relationships those become lifelong and an outlet and a voice and a third party to be like, am I crazy when I see it? Like those are a gift.
Absolutely.
Those are a gift. So I would say absolutely go to every conference event, whatever you possibly can. Yeah. But skip some stuff and hang with people.
I would totally agree. Thrive conference. If you've never been to Thrive conference, get out here. Yeah. One of my dear friends flew out from Rochester to New York to come out here, and he's like, well, I get to go to California, which is great, but but it's been so good to just get filled. I went to DYM 100 last year for the first time, and I'm like, all right, I haven't been able to financially. The churches I've been in, like, couldn't do it, and like, I went, and it's not like that being like a smaller setting. There's no more than 100 of us in there,
Irvine.
and we're sitting we're sitting
home of Blizzard, home of Taco Bell,
sitting around
home
tables, like, and that's so relational, and that's really me. Yep. But that's designed purposely to be relational. I think that's so significant.
And content is easier than ever. Like this show is a content. You know, your podcast. There's so much content out there. You can get content anywhere. Yeah. But content can be a counterfeit of community. I should trademark that. Dang it, that's fun. But you know, community is what you need. You need to be together. You need to be with people. If you want to be in it for a long time, and you want to make a long impact at a single church or a few churches or whatever, you've got to be in community.
Absolutely.
So get the content wherever you can. Great.
Yeah. I know this doesn't exist anymore, and so RIP Youth Specialties, but Youth Specialties is the reason I'm still in ministry. So my hardest time and season, I was at there was a transition, campus pastors, and it was just like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. And so we went to YS Tampa.
Yeah.
And
so fun. Good memories.
And I struggle in some of the breakouts because you get these people up there and you're like, okay, like I get it. You work for this big name company, but you haven't done youth ministry in years. But you have 5 books. That's great. Cool. I'm dying because this kid's doing this and this. But I remember there was a moment in the big sessions. I never miss a big session, but I'm in a big session and God was just there with me. And it was just like, Lord, thank you for this. Like, I'm not done. I still got it.
Let's go.
And it was such a filling moment. And then what was crazy is COVID came like a month or 2 after. And then I ended up coming to Bayside and I was just like, okay, God met me there. So I would say go to retreats, put it in your calendar. If you have to pay for it out of your own pocket, it's worth it. Do it. Plug into DYM retreats and plug into your local stuff. If you're here in the greater Sacramento area, there's a guy named Rones. He does a thing at William Jessup, or just Jessup now. It's a luncheon third Thursday of the month.
What happened to William?
They had a falling out.
Is it not good? All right.
It was like his son Jim was like, yeah, I'm sick of hearing a grandpa. Or like, like, we're going Jessup.
Got it. All right. We're modern now. Yeah.
But best cafeteria I've ever eaten at. And I've eaten at a lot of cafeterias. And so they give free lunch. I know they do stuff
That's
like
a win.
down in LA, you probably got some things.
Yeah, jump in. And I would say there's room for like the virtual stuff and coaching and mentoring and community groups, all that stuff. But there is something great about sitting across the table, having wings, talking shop with people that get it. And, National Network of Youth Ministry has been around for years and years and years. And I think some of the most life-giving times aren't at the session.
No,
they're off. They're kind of offline or late night or let's grab lunch or whatever.
But I'd say at the same time though, that like when I go, I always I think of like what are the things that God has gifted me that I could steward and grow in. So like
True.
Every time I go to a conference, if there's something on communicating, I'm going to that because I want to get better at communicating.
Well, and that is part of longevity, right? Is knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths, getting better, continually having the spirit of a learner. Like that's also a huge unlock right there. If you want to be around a while, your skills have to increase. You have to grow.
And you're gonna make friends. Like, right? You're gonna make friends. Like, do you remember Brian Barry?
Oh, of course.
Brian Barry. Okay,
love that dude.
Love him. And so he was a guy that I just kind of met here or there, and then he spoke at a camp I was at, and then I remember Youth Specialties. We're out in San Diego, and we went out and got like a drink and had some burgers. And it was just like, it was one of the most cup-filling things to just be like, here's where I'm at. Have someone who's been a little bit further along, kind of this mentorship relationship for a while.
So good.
And so it's like, you're going to build those things with these things. And then with phones, it's so easy, accessible, text messaging. I love going on like Instagrams and being like, that looked great, great job. Just encouraging.
So good.
Get a mentor too. Get someone that fills your cup. Get someone removed from your church too. Like, don't find someone in-house, okay? You can have people in-house. That's great. But when you need to complain about your senior pastor, okay, and there's going to be those moments, you need someone you can be like, gosh, this person was a turd today.
I need to vent, and it can't be to your new intern at the church.
So, you're absolutely right. Like, I met Josh 20 years ago at Simply Youth Ministry Conference. I had walked in, my flight was late, and he was giving away an iPod to the person who got there the latest. And people are saying the time they got in, I'm like 7:47s when I landed. And nobody else was in later. Some guy said 7:48, and you're like, yeah, right. And I want an iPod. And so we talked afterwards and we just connected. Now, he gave me his phone number, but then he also gave it up on screen to everybody for a game we did.
It's the same phone number, just so you know.
Exactly.
I've had it for a long time.
Yeah.
But we've connected over the years. I got part of that leadership for Simply Youth Ministry and coming out and visit from time to time and have lunch. Like, so those connections, that's 20 years ago, dude.
Pretty good.
It's
That's
crazy.
pretty good. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I like giving out my phone number only because it surprises people so much. And I'm just like, just text me. I said, don't call me because I do have boundaries and I just hate the phone. But text me. I'll try. I'll do my best.
Bob Goff of Youth Ministry.
You know.
Actually, I did call Bob's number one time because I'm calling his bluff. He answered.
No way.
I was like, what in the world?
Well, let's put Eric's phone number up on the screen right now. If you're only audio, you won't see it.
Yeah,
there it is.
Here it is. It's 911. But
that's
man,
great.
hey, thank you guys so much for being here and doing this. And guys, wherever you're at, or gals, wherever you're at and what you're going through, reach out. There is help. We love that you guys are tuning in, because the truth is, when one of us get better, we all get better. And I genuinely believe that, because my hope and my prayer is that 17 30, 32, that becomes the norm for youth ministry.
Yeah. Agreed.
Hey, you're not
Amen.
just going to pastor students, you're going to pastor your students, because I think that's where the real fruit is.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think if we can build into this generation and the next generation, man, we're going to begin to see the fruit of our labor, and God's kingdom is going to get bigger
Yeah.
and bigger. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
being here.
You bet.
Thanks,
Have a
Jared.
great day. We're out.